All right, welcome back to Studio 18. Today we are going to talk about the player's equipment. So for this, each player must use conforming clubs and golf balls. And also a player is limited to no more than 14 clubs during a round.
Yeah, dig into clubs a little bit. Like Paxton said, you're limited to no more than 14. You can actually start with less than 14 if you want. And at any point, if you started with 12, say, and at the turn you needed to get 2 more, you can do that. You can always go up to 14. If I start with 14 and then I lose a club, I can't replace that club. So got to kind of know the nuances of when you can add a club and when you cannot. And then if we have a club that's like with the new drivers today, you can change the loft and lie on those. So if that comes loose during the round, you can always restore that back to its original position. So if I had it set up as a neutral face and 9.5 degree loft, and during the round the screws came loose, I can take the wrench back out and I can tighten it back up, but I must set it back to the same exact playing characteristics it was prior to coming loose. And then as far as equipment damage, it came out originally, was damaged during the round. You could not fix it or replace it, and there has been a new clarification with Model Local Rule G9. As long as a player doesn't damage a club with abuse, so if for instance I throw it down and it hits the ground and snaps it, I can't replace that because that's with abuse. But if the club happens to break at impact, a driver face cracks or something like that, Model Local Rule G9 will allow a player now to replace that club during the round. So that's something we want to know, make sure we know. And also, what defines being broken or damaged? If a shaft breaks, of course, that's one of them. If the face impact area becomes caved in, or if there's a crack. But if there's just a little bit of a spot on the top that's not, it's just a very slight crack, then there's no indentation of any sort, that club is not damaged by the rules of golf. Even though you see a small crack in it, there has to be a significant, if you rub your finger over, you can feel like a ledge or something like that. So a little gray area there, but so just a small crack, or maybe you see like something that seems a little bit, a little blemish in it, that would not be damaged. And then lastly on clubs, if I damage a club during the round, say for instance I break my putter and I want to putt with that putter the rest of the round with a short shaft on it, I can do that. I just can't start a round with a non-conforming club. So if something becomes non-conforming, I can finish that round off with that club, but I cannot start a new round with a non-conforming club.
All right, so now we're going to move on to 4.2 golf balls allowed in play of round. So a conforming ball must be played. So as long as your golf ball is on the conforming ball list, then you're good to go. So now we'll talk about 4.2b. So a ball breaks into pieces while playing a hole. So if this happens during a stroke, if it breaks into a lot of pieces, then you must replay that stroke. There is no penalty and it does not count. So you must put the ball back down from where it was last and you must replay that stroke. So now 4.2c, a ball becomes cut or cracked while playing the hole. So for this, you're able to lift the ball to see if it is cut or cracked. So if this happens, you must mark your spot, lift up your ball and check, and if it is, then you are able to put a ball into play that is not cut or cracked. But for example, if your ball hits a cart path and it has a scuff mark or a black mark on it, that is not cut or cracked. It must be visible that there is a cut or a crack in the ball, but for a ball just hitting a tree or hitting a cart path, that does not allow you to put another ball into play. So it must be visible that it is cut or cracked.
Okay, so that wraps up Rule 4. Make sure you take our quiz, and we'll see you next time on Rule 5, playing around.